Hey everyone, this is Lesky here, back with another video for you guys today. And in this video, we have something different than what I usually do on my channel. It's a little bit of a special video where I'm going to be going over my top 5 builds or favorite builds that I've used in pro clubs this year in FIFA 21. This list isn't going to be in a particular order or anything like that. It's just too hard to decipher which one's actually first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. They're just 5 of my favorite builds I've used. And then I'm also going to have some honorable mentions towards the end of the video or while I'm just talking about another build. I might mention some other builds that are pretty similar to it that could be just as good, if not better. Just kind of depends on the person on the sticks. Let's get this list started so y'all can see my top 5 builds in pro clubs. And also, just so y'all know, I do have a pro clubs playlist on my channel, so y'all can look at all the builds I have posted on YouTube for FIFA 21 pro clubs. This one's just solely for all my pro clubs builds, this playlist. I also have a Volta build playlist and then just like pro clubs gameplay playlist as well. But as you guys can see, I have 54 builds. I made 54 pro club builds this year, and I'm going to be picking my top 5 out of these 54 basically. So let's get to it. And for the first build in my top 5 list, we went for this Samueletto center forward build, which at the time in this particular video, I even said this is my favorite attacker build I've ever used.
Oh,
Perfect.
they left me open. What?
Leaving you still open.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
ooh.
Ah.
You got it? I got it.
Come
on, baby.
I'm still
baby.
on the ground.
Holy
Whoa.
craps. Hop over him.
Opportunity to do that.
Just gonna scoop you every time.
Like, oh crap, dude, now they're trying.
Pin.
Oh.
And honestly, to this day, it is still one of my favorite attacker builds I've used, which is why it is on this channel. I do have some other builds that are pretty similar to it, especially my Johan Cruyff build. That's extremely similar to it, except I think the Cruyff build has 5-star weak foot over this build. So if you want to see another build that's not the Samueletto build, but pretty similar to it, a Cruyff build is another really good option. So that's definitely an honorable mention is the Cruyff build. It's not going to be on this video, but because it's really similar to this Eto build. It's a center forward 5'10". I could only pick one. So on this build, we went for a 5'10 height and 149 pounds. Eto is 5'10", so I wanted to make it extremely realistic and at least get the height right. And then work with the skill tree after that. But we went with a 5'10", 149 pounds. You could even go a little bit skinnier, but I think the reason for 149 pounds was just a little bit more strength, jumping. Yeah, I think that was really it, just physical stats. But on this physical page, we went for the second win like I do in most of my videos. I mentioned in all my builds, if you are playing any, you pretty much don't need the second win. You could take that off. But for the people that don't play any, you're going to want the second win. What I was focusing on here is getting the jumping to a pretty high number, which is 89. I believe Eto had exactly 89 jumping on one of his cards, or around there, like 90. He had really high jumping, and then he had in the middle 70s strength. So that's what we're going for on this physical page. Pretty decent jumping and solid strength for a 5'10 guy, so you don't get bodied too easily, and you can actually win some headers as a 5'10 center forward. So that's pretty good to hear. And then we're going to go ahead and skip straight to dribbling since we don't have anything on the defending page. And that was it for the physical page. On this dribbling page, I'm a huge fan of this dribbling page because we have 88 agility and 88 balance for a 5'10 center forward build. That is extremely underrated stats, and I think you notice it when dribbling with this build. You can beat people one-on-one pretty easily, and then you have some strength. So if they do try to get up on you and shoulder you or pull you back, you can kind of body them off or push them off with the strength. In here in this video, I'm showing that I got the flare trait. Flare trait's important. I believe Eto even has the flare trait too, so that's accurate. I decided to not go for, I decided to not go for the 4-star skills like he has. I went for 5-star skills just because I'm a huge fan of 5-star skills, but feel free to take them off if you don't want to use the 5-star skills. But I would recommend having the flare trait. On to passing, we actually don't have anything on passing. We just have the base center forward stats, which aren't too bad, so we didn't touch that at all. On to shooting, we went for the 4-star weak foot and the finesse shot because Eto has the finesse shot and a 4-star weak foot. So that's all we did on this page. Just went to the left side and got the finesse and the weak foot with pretty good shooting stats. You actually have 83 shot power, which is solid for pro clubs, and then 83 heading accuracy. You have decent jumping. You can win some headers, even though you aren't crazy tall, but you're also not that short, so you can definitely win some headers. 90 long shots. Feel free to take some long shots. You have the finesse shot trait, so the long shot finesses outside the box will be very overpowered. To the last section now, which is the sprint speed, which is really important for an Eto build. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it as fast as I'd want it. I'd want it even faster, but like I said, we wanted to be accurate with the height, and we went for the 5'10" height, and this is the max you can make it as a 5'10", 149-pound center forward. So this wraps up this Eto build. Let's go on to the next build on this list. I went with my Holeit Gang center mid build. Every single stat is 80 or above, whether it be physical, dribbling, defending, shooting. Like you can see right here at the bottom right, every stat is 80 or higher. So that's what I was going for. Get that Holeit Gang center mid build.
For teammates to arrive on the scene. Can he find the angle?
You
Let's go.
the animal. That was sick. I just knew something was happening. Ooh, nice. Oh,
Let's go.
that was good.
Get wrecked.
Dirty. Oh man. Charging in, folks. Pick, baby. Oh.
Let's go.
Sick. Ooh. Flat tire.
Hey.
Foul. Shit. Not again.
Chip. Oh my gosh. Basically, this is one of my favorite builds I've used, like in the game in general, and definitely one of my favorite center mid builds. I actually have two other builds that are pretty similar to this because they are 80 club builds as well. That is a Camavinga build, and the other one I believe is the Yaya Toure build. The Camavinga build and this build are both 6 foot. The Camavinga build is just a little skinnier, but traits and skill tree wise, they are a little bit different. But the play style is pretty similar. The Yaya Toure is the same as well. It's just the Yaya Toure is a little bit bigger. It's 6'2" instead of 6 foot like these. So it's a little bit slower, but it still has 80 plus stats in every category. So they all three fit the 80 club criteria. But I'm just going to show this one because this was my original one I posted. This was the very first one I made, and I have quite a few good clips with it. I was just a big fan of this build, and I was pleasantly surprised when making this build and trying it out. On the physical page, as you guys can see, we went for a decent amount of strength. We had to get 80, the 80 club, so I had to get a decent amount of strength to get that over 80. So we went to the Bear Claw, and that gets you exactly 80 strength. And then, of course, we went for the second win because this is a box-to-box build. You're going to be sprinting up and down the field because you're good at you're decent or average, above average, I'd say, at every single category. So you can pretty much do anything on the pitch. So you're going to be covering the whole field as a box-to-box midfielder. So second wind is crucial unless maybe you're playing any. You probably won't need it. It might be a bit of a waste. But really the focal point here was the strength. So on to defending, if I can get there. And the key here was basically getting the stats barely to 80 or higher. The tricky thing here was that the defensive awareness for center mid, the default defensive awareness is 75. So that like takes down the average of the defense. So I basically had to get like 82 stand tackling, 82 interceptions or whatever it may be. Let's see what we have at the end. 84 interceptions, 82 stand tackling, and 82 slide tackling. So those numbers basically balance off that lower defensive awareness, and that's what gets us to 80. So the defending is solid on this build as well, as you'd expect for an 80 club build. Dribbling, nothing too crazy since you are 6 foot center mid. You don't have that good of agility and balance stats, but the ball control and dribbling is still there. I went for the 5-star skills in this build. It's not necessary, definitely not necessary as a center mid. Go for the 4-star if you want, but I went for the flare because I pretty much do that on most of my builds anyways. I like doing the fancy passes and just the back heels. They're very efficient and just nice to do. I don't like having to make my guy turn around and make a pass while when I can just do a back heel and catch the defender off guard, if that makes sense. Passing, not too much since we had to spread the skill points around and the passing's already really good on a center mid. We basically just bumped the short passing up to get it even with the long passing. Shooting, decent amount in this because we had to get it to 80, all the stats to 80. So we had to put a bunch on shooting. This main thing here is the long shots. You have good long shots as a center mid, but nothing really too crazy to shout out. I guess you have decent free kick accuracy, but average shooting, and you kind of have to expect that. You are a center mid. What did I just click? I don't know. On to the last section, which is pace. Again, you're not going to be that fast. We had to spread the skill points around. But that's fine. It's not going to be that big of a problem. I didn't have much of a problem with it. So you're not the fastest, but again, the focal point of this build isn't to be fast. It's just to be the most well-rounded build you can possibly be for a box-to-box position. And that'll be it for this Holeit gang build. Check out the Yaya Toure and Camavinga build if you want to look at a different box-to-box 80 club build. Go ahead and check those out. We're going to go on to the next build. And now for the third build on my list, I went for a unique one. It was actually my second ever build posted on the channel. So this build was from way back towards the beginning of FIFA. And this one is especially good if you have teammates that are pretty fast on the wings, or in a decent, like I would say like 3 or 4 teammates that can play around you, because you're not going to be fast. But what you can do is finish anything in the box, win any cross in the air over mostly any of the center backs that you're going to come up against.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
go
it
for it.
Oh, it's perfect.
Nice. Let's go. Yep. Send it.
It's been aimed
Get it, boy.
GG.
Ah.
GG.
It's not.
So the corner
He's just
played
stuck to the
into
screen.
Let's go.
To praise his reflexes there.
Yeah, this is it.
And now the delivery.
Let's go.
Oh,
Right
too
between them.
easy. Great.
Either like
As they try to
line
activate
drive
back
it.
to where you
Okay,
were.
that works.
Let's go!
Oh my god.
They can't seem to get a foothold in this game.
Just because the stats are better, you're taller and you're stronger, and your finishing is wild. So let's dive straight into this skill tree. So as you guys can see from that screen, this build is 6'6", and we're 198 pounds. So that's above average for the weight I usually do. Like max, I would on most of my builds is 174 weight, but for this one, I don't know exactly why I went for 198. It might have put your dribbling down a little, your jumping down a little bit. Sorry, going up a little bit extra weight, but I think I was just going for that 90 strength mark, just be extra strong. But I was having so much fun using this build at the beginning of the year, because I had 2 teammates who would play wingers, and I would be the sole striker pretty much, and they would just cross the ball into me, and I would get the craziest header goals with this build. I wouldn't say this is the best build or the most usable build, but it's on my list just because I've had so much fun using it, and it's just one of my favorite builds that I've used all time in pro clubs this year. So this is the physical page. Like I said, we just kind of wanted to get the jumping and strength up. So we got 89 jumping as a 6'6" guy. That's pretty solid. I know you could probably get it a little bit taller if you change the weight, or a little bit higher if you change the weight, but that's what we went for. And then we got 90 strength. So on the dribbling page, you're not going to expect to have much agility, but the 84 balance actually makes up for it a little bit. You're not as clunky as you think, but you are pretty clunky. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, you're definitely going to feel the clunkiness. We wanted to make sure we bumped up the dribbling pretty good, since you expect to be pretty clunky. If you bump up the ball control and dribbling, it'll make your guy feel a little bit more responsive. So that's the main reason for that. That's it for the dribbling. Actually, on this dribbling, one thing is I went for the 5-star skills flare. I would definitely suggest the flare shot just to do like bicycle kicks, fancy kicks like volleys. And then as a target man, it's important to do those fancy passes and like those back heels, just those one-time fancy passes that you can do in any direction. You don't have to worry about where your guy's facing. I know I mentioned that in my last build that we just talked about, but it's really important. But the skills aren't necessary. You can go for the 4 if you don't feel like using the 5-star skills. Nothing on the passing. And then on the shooting, We only went for the 4-star weak foot, didn't go for a 5-star weak foot, just because we went for the power header. Basically, this build was just specialized for heading, obviously, because we are 6'6". With the power header, we have 95 heading actually with 90 shot power. I tell you, if you have in your settings, you got to make sure you have the heading assist off, because that'll mess you up if you have it on. As long as you have it off, the headers will almost be automatic because of the crazy heading actually, shot power, and the power header. I don't know if the shot power like plays into the power header and makes it even more powerful. I don't know, but I got a ton of headers with this build, and it's just really fun using this build if you have the right pieces around you, playing around you, and using this build properly. And then on the pace, we don't have much on the pace, only 78 acceleration and 75 sprint speed. Like I said, it works a lot better if you have teammates who are pretty fast and can get around the line and cross the ball into you. With this fourth build, I wanted to focus on a more defensive playstyle build. The only really defensive one is that box-to-box mid that I showed. So I wanted to have somewhat of a defensive build. So this one's a little bit of a surprise to some of y'all maybe, and actually a little bit of a surprise to me, but thinking about it more, this build was actually really solid if you are in the playing in the defensive center mid holding position, where you're mostly focusing on defense and not going too much on offense. You're trying to prevent the counterattack. This build is in the wing pack position, but it specializes in the CDM role.
Ooh.
Clobbered. Dang.
Disappointing pass.
Oh, where'd he go? Oh,
Meg?
we're all over the
What can he
top.
do from here?
Ooh.
Ooh,
surely.
dummy.
Takes the
No
shot.
Let's
way.
go.
He says the referee. Well,
Of
great
course, I was
read
spamming
there
it.
to intercept.
What?
Slide tackles on these wingbacks are crazy.
Toure. There's a slide
There.
Sweat.
pass. Has a go.
Let's
Nice.
go. That was beautiful.
So you're going to be listed as a wingback, but you're going to play in the center mid role, and you're a little bit taller than most wingbacks you'll see. Most of them, people will try to do like 5'4", 5'6" wingbacks, be like little Contes running around really fast. But with this one, I try to do it a little bit different. Add some height so you can get like at least like 70 strength, I think is what we have. So you can have somewhat a bit of strength so you can push some people off, especially the smaller people. And then I just like a little bit of a taller build so you can win those 50-50 balls as a CDM, those goal kicks, those 50-50s, clearing them off of corners. It's just nice to have a little bit of physical as a defensive player, and that's just my preference. Let's see. Let's start with the physical. As always, we basically bump the jumping up, like I said, to win those headers, and then we have 70 strength so we don't get bodied so easily. And then on defensive page, we got these first 6 things, and that'll get us to 88 interceptions, 84 stand tackling, which isn't the highest. They have way higher slide tackling to start off with than stand tackling. It's a little bit unfortunate. Can't do much about it. 92 slide tackling, though. You can sweep those legs and get some really dirty, clean slide tackles with those good slide tackle animations because you have good slide tackling. And then the 89 defensive awareness is huge. Actually, I don't know if it really plays too much of a part since you are controlling your player the whole time, but the 89 defensive awareness is pretty absurd for a base stat for a wingback, which is the main reason people, I guess, use wingbacks as like defensive mids. Actually, the main reason is because their pace. They're really fast, which is kind of the main reason we used it. This build was I tried to kind of imitate Ramirez from Chelsea, the Brazilian center mid that played back in the day. I believe he's retired, but I kind of tried to imitate this build to be like Ramirez because I believe he's around 5'10", and he was really skinny. He had a lean body type, and this one is like 119 pounds, so it's really skinny and 5'10", so it looks similar to Ramirez as well and plays similar like stats-wise. On the dribbling page, nothing. Actually, the dribbling's actually pretty solid. The 5-star skills definitely isn't necessary if you're going to be playing holding mid and not going up on attack. Feel free to just do 4 or maybe even 3 if you don't even want the 4, and that'll save a lot of skill points for other stuff. You can add it to more onto defending if you want to upgrade the stand tackling even more. I went for the flare trait like I do in all my builds. Again, that's preference. You don't necessarily need it as a defensive player. Did I add anything on the pass? Yeah, of course I did. This is a midfielder build. I gotta have somewhat good passing as a defensive mid. You want to be able to make those long passes, or unfortunately for a wingback, their long passing isn't very good compared to their short passing. So that's what we're doing here on this page, is trying to bump up the long passing as much as we can, and that'll get us to 83 long pass, 90 short pass. Actually 84 long pass, sorry, 90 short pass, 88 curve. You already have really good curve just because you're a wingback and they expect you to have already solid crossing and curve. So that's why, as base stats, this crossing and curve are already fantastic. So if you are out wide for some reason, you find yourself out wide, feel free to cross the ball in because of those nasty stats that you have as base wingback stats. That's it for passing. On to shooting. I believe I have a little bit on shooting, but not much. It's not really necessary, but the real reason for this was to get the weak foot, just to help for like passes mostly. You're not going to be shooting too much with this build. It's just mostly for passing. The 4-star weak foot. If you're on your left foot, say your left foot's your weak foot, hitting passes are a little bit more accurate. They're a little bit more similar to if you were hit it to your dominant foot rather than being on a 3-star weak foot. They might be a little bit inconsistent. And then I added some heading accuracy. Not too sure why. I guess you're 5'10 and got some jumping and already decent heading accuracy. I think it was just some extra skill points I wanted to add on, so I put it there. And then on the pace, like I said, it's the main reason we picked this build. We could have went even faster. I guess if you took off the skill moves, the flare trait, you could add even more pace, but 88 acceleration, 88 sprint speed as a defensive mid for 5'10 isn't bad at all. Like, you're not going to notice getting burnt very much at all. Even if a guy has 90 pace, you'll get up next to him and you'll probably be able to body them or pull them back a little bit just because you're stronger and taller. And they're probably pretty weak since they're going to be really fast. But yeah, that's it for this wingbat build. Definitely one of the more defensive style builds on my channel. I wanted to add one in my list, so here it is. Let's move on to the 5th build now. All right, guys, so for the last one to make my top 5 pro club player build list will be my complete striker build that I posted honestly not too long ago. It's one of my more recent builds I have posted, but this without a doubt in my mind is the best striker build I've used in pro clubs, like actual in the striker position. Some center forwards are pretty good.
Certainly work to be done now. And space to cross it.
Money.
Gosh,
Oh.
dang. Let's go.
So 20 minutes to go.
Oh, you're on.
Well, now in a dangerous position.
All right,
The
Yes,
passing on this build's insane.
dude.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Di Maria.
That is
Oh.
disgusting.
And it might be. And there.
Oh, shoot.
Tremendously strong in the tackle. Can he take the chance?
Let's go. I got through a corner that time. There we go. Oh, shoot, pinging it.
It's there for him.
Oh, my
Still.
sauce. But if you want a striker that can pretty much do everything, like the complete striker, which is why I named it the complete striker, that's what I was going for with this build. This is it. It's not necessarily crazy fast or insane at dribbling or good at passing or really strong or deadly in the air. It's obviously really good at shooting, but it's just pretty solid at all those categories, similar to like a Holeit gang build, but this is for an attacker build. Like, we're not going to focus on defending or passing very much, mostly just shooting, pace, dribbling, and physical. They're very solid for a pro club's build. And the height and weight for this build is 6 foot, 149. That kind of is a good weight to make it a complete striker. You want some height as a complete striker. You got to be good in the air. So that's why I went for the 6 foot. And then the 149 pounds gives you the 96 jumping. If you went less weight, you would have like 94, 93 jumping, something like that, just a little bit less. That's the main reason we went for 149 pounds, just more strength, more jumping, and it makes you more of a complete striker build, I would say, rather than being skinnier. A lot of people in the comments of this, or I wouldn't say a lot of people, a few people in the comments of this video said they used this build as a center forward and it worked very well. They're just a little bit more nimble with dribbling and a little bit quicker. That's the upside. Their just heading is not going to be as good and their physical stats won't be as good as a center forward, but you might feel a little bit better on the ball as a center forward with this build. And then that'll lead to the dribbling section on this page, where we didn't get all the agility and balance because as a complete striker, we had to spread the skill points around. And this is kind of the main reason some people went for a center forward on this build, just because it gives you a little bit extra agility and balance and better ball control and dribbling. Not by much, just a bit. But what we went for is just the flare trait and the 5-star weak foot, and that's all you get on this page. And you get pretty average dribbling stats. But as a striker center forward, you shouldn't be like trying to dribble crazy too much or anything like that. Especially not with these stats. You're going to rely on your outside mid wingers, your faster, pacier players to do that, while you're going to be in the box lurking, trying to be more like a poacher, goal scorer, and then when the time comes in the box, pull off like a 5-star skill and then hit that shot, because we do have a 5-star weak foot on this build. Nothing on the passing. I know this is a complete striker build, but we just don't have enough skill points. They don't give us enough skill points in pro clubs to add it on to passing. And then the one thing we went for is the 5-star weak foot, like I mentioned. That'll basically make it easier for you to finish all your chances on either foot, no matter really what angle or where you are. You should be able to just rip it with that 5-star weak foot. And we have good stats of 95 finishing, 88 heading accuracy. So like I said, you have 96 jumping as a 6-foot striker with 88 heading accuracy. This build is an aerial threat. You might not think it is, but it definitely is. Solid long shots, good volleys, just really good shooting stats and in general. And then the last section, which will wrap up this list, is the pace, which, like I said, it's not a crazy fast build. But we went for the full pace upgrade as a 6-foot, 149-pound striker, and that got us to 89 acceleration, 88 sprint speed. And like I said, people went for the center forward just to get a little bit more extra pace and dribbling. So that's it for this. For the 5th build on my list, this is the complete striker build. Definitely my favorite striker build I have on my channel. If I had to pick one to use for one game to win a game, I would probably pick this build. That wraps up the list of my top 5 pro clubs builds I've used this year. I said I was going to give y'all some honorable mentions, some builds that I'm fond of and think y'all would like if y'all want to try them out. So let me go over this playlist and show you some builds that I think y'all may like. The first one is the CR7 build. It's similar to the complete striker build. It's good in the air, pretty much do anything, you can beat people with pace. It's not the fastest, but it has some pace on it. Solid dribbling stats, 5-star skills, obviously. And I really like that Ronaldo build. This Henry build, it is a 6-foot center forward build like the Ronaldo one. But I don't know, for some reason, even though like the balance is only like 80, I think, and then you have like 87 agility, the dribbling didn't feel very bad. I didn't notice the balance being a problem. But the finishing on this build, I've never used a build that is so clinical for me. I was putting like every single one-on-one chance or any shot I had in the side netting or in the corner. I don't know if I was just on point that day or this build was just being really good to me. For the people that like big strikers, y'all can check out my Holland, my Drogba, and my Lukaku builds. Those are pretty similar and physical builds. I didn't add this OP build because we all know a 5'4", 119-pound center forward with 99 sprint speed, 99 acceleration, 97 agility is going to be the best build in the game, the most efficient. This center mid Pogba build I didn't put on the list, but I actually, like in the title, it says my favorite center mid build. It really is, because we don't put any defensive stats on this to make it an 80 club build like my other ones. So there's not any defensive stats, but the base center mid defensive stats are pretty good. So you can use it as a box to box, but this build is more focused on an attacking center mid. So the shooting is better mostly, and the dribbling. But that's going to wrap up this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this little special top 5 pro clubs player build that I did. Please hit that like button on my video and that subscribe button on my channel. I would greatly appreciate if y'all could do that. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more pro clubs content and Volta content, especially for when FIFA 22 comes out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day, and peace out.